So you want to get into Rice University in Houston, Texas? Well, you have come to the right place. My name is Craig Meister. You can go to my website, collegemeister.com, to learn more about me and also learn how you can work with me one-on-one through your college application process. Rice University is a highly selective institution. It's private, it's in Texas, and let's dive right in to how you can give yourself the very best chance of getting into this very prestigious undergraduate institution. Tip number one, below this video, there's a link to my classic article, How to Get into the Ivy League Ethically. I want you to read that article from start to finish. You are correct if you're asking the question, well, Rice is not an Ivy League school. Why would I want to read that article? Well, it's because Rice is just as selective as a number of Ivy League schools are. And everything that is recommended in that article, How to Get into the Ivy League Ethically, will help you get the best chance for yourself of getting in to Rice University. So why not read it? It not only talks about what you need to do in your 12th grade year when you're applying, which I'm going to really be focusing on in this video. It also primarily focuses on what you need to be doing in 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade to set yourself up for success as a high school senior. So definitely read that article, even if you're younger. Let's say you're in 9th grade now, 10th grade now. The tips in that article are going to help you very much as you approach the selective college application environment that you intend to get into for your 12th grade year. Tip number two, when you apply is almost more important as where you apply. And at Rice, you're selective all along. I mean, it's in the teens for acceptance rate for early decision. It's in the single digits for acceptance rate for regular decision. But there is a spread. It's basically you have a double chance of getting in statistically early decision than you do regular decision. So if Rice University is your first choice school, I would have a talk with your family about signing an ED agreement and applying early decision to Rice, because your chances of getting in statistically are twice as high. You have a twice as large chance of getting into Rice early decision as you do regular. Now, of course, there are caveats. If you are getting the best grades of your life in 12th grade year, and maybe you didn't have the best grades in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade year, you probably want to show the best grades of your life as much as you can on your application, and by applying early decision, you may not have as many of those grades yet. But 99 times out of 100, for students who are real contenders at Rice, you have the goods to apply early decision, and you're going to have just as good of a chance of getting in terms of the quality of your academic record, in most cases, regular versus ED. So as a result, do ED. If you're willing to bind yourself, remember, early decision is binding. That means if you get an early decision to Rice, you're going to Rice. There are, of course, loopholes that you can get out of it, but don't assume that you're going to qualify for one of those loopholes. If you want to go to Rice, apply early decision, as long as financially you feel like, again, as a family, you're going to be able to pay the bill, regardless of what type of financial aid or package comes your way. So that's very important to know. Not only that, but your counselor needs to sign a contract, your guardian or parent needs to sign a contract, and you need to sign a contract when you apply early decision saying that you will not be applying elsewhere after getting in their early decision, and your counselor is really forbidden from sending any more documents on your behalf to any regular decision schools. So be aware that there are lots of annoying things that could happen if you try to pull out of an early decision agreement. So don't intend to do that, of course. And since you're watching this video, you want to go to Rice, so early decision statistically makes the most sense. Tip number three. Rice is one of those schools that really does want to get to know you as the student and as you as the person. And so the great news is that on the supplement that Rice has on the Common Application, you have the opportunity to upload a full-fledged extracurricular resume about yourself where you can detail what you've been up to outside of the classroom since the summer after 8th grade year. So basically everything you've done the summer before grade 9 all the way up until the present, if you've been doing productive endeavors, you should be sharing that on an extracurricular resume. But how you put it together is almost more important that you put it together at all, because many students put together very poor resumes, even if they have a very impressive record of achievement. So below this video, there is a link to my classic short course, How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume, I want you to go purchase that course. It's very cheap and it's very short. I think it's less than an hour long in length. And you will learn how to organize your extracurricular resume in such a way where you're going to be sharing depth and breadth, quality and quantity about yourself that goes above and beyond what you can share on the Common App's activities page. Now, don't get me wrong. I still want you to fill out the Common App activities page. Fill it out to the best of your ability. But because Rice gives you the option to upload a resume to its supplement, you sure as heck better take advantage of that opportunity, and you want to make the most of that opportunity. And again, my How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume short course will help you do just that. I would even go so far as to say, don't even fill out the activities page of the Common App until you've built your extracurricular resume on a Google or Word document to the standard described in my How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume short course, because you're going to have better content to throw into the activities page as well as a result of the great unabridged resume you're going to be able to produce about yourself after having taken that How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume short course over at Gumroad. It's linked below this video in the video description. My next tip is actually not going to be a tip that I'm going to discuss really at all in this video, other than to say click the links below this video to learn more about how to build your best Common Application essay and how to strategize about how to pick the right Common App essay prompt for you, and also just some other very important tips so you do not fall into the trap of producing a really bad Common App essay. The Common App essay matters a heck of a lot for a school like Rice. It matters so much that I have so much to say about it that I cannot talk about it in this video, but definitely review those past videos I produced, because the Common App essay is going to be read and read thoroughly by the admissions officers at Rice University. My next tips are all going to have to do with the actual Rice supplement to the Common Application. This video is being produced in 2023, in August 2023 to be exact. And so we are going to be talking now about the supplement to the Common App for Rice for the 2023-2024 admission cycle. Some of this content could be good for many years to come. Some of this content might only be good for the remainder of the 2023-2024 admission cycle. It really depends on what content from this supplement gets replicated in future cycles. But what I will say is that I want to give you a few tips on how to make the most of the Rice supplement. Tip number one for the Rice supplement in particular, beyond, of course, putting early decision as your deadline if you really want to get into Rice and it's your first choice school and if you will attend if admitted. Beyond that, there are a few questions right below asking you about fee waiver, asking about if you're applying for need-based financial aid, asking if you're a recipient of a College Board recognition program. Below that, there is a question that says, do you identify as LGBTQIA? If you have any doubt about your sexual orientation, now is the time to have it. And I would certainly say that if you have any doubt, say yes, and then describe what you are if you are not 100% straight. That is all I will say on the matter. They asked the question. I'm giving you an answer that is, be honest if you have doubts. Continue on to the academic section. I would say that if you can submit an SAT score, you should submit an SAT score. What do I mean by that? Well, Rice currently is test optional. You do not officially need to submit your SAT or ACT scores in order to be considered for admission at Rice. However, you should submit your SAT or ACT scores if they are in the 1500s or above 34. High 1500s, definitely. Low 1500s, maybe. It really depends on the situation. But if you are, let's say, 1330 on the SAT or 30 on the ACT, do not submit your SAT or ACT scores. They're going to be a bit negative for you. Again, this is generic advice. I'm giving this advice to eventually thousands of people who will be watching this video. Every case is unique. So maybe a 1300 would be good enough for you because of some very extreme situation. But by and large, my generic general advice is don't submit SAT or ACT scores unless they are in the 1500 range for the SAT or 34 range or higher for the ACT. 14 high 1400s, 33, 32, this is a judgment call. But that's why you would maybe want to work with me one-on-one to get the bespoke advice that you need based off of your grades, the courses you've taken, the quality of your essays, all the other things that are going to obviously matter in Rice's holistic admissions process. But definitely their statistics prove the point at Rice The class profile of the class of 2026, for instance, had SAT averages, ACT averages where the 25th percentile, excuse me, for SAT was 1500. The 75th percentile was 1560. The 25th percentile on the ACT was 34. The 75th percentile was 36. That's a perfect score on the ACT. The highest you can get on the SAT is a 1600. So the kids submitting test scores to Rice in a test optional environment are only submitting the best test scores. So even if a lot of kids are getting into Rice without having great test scores, they're most likely getting into Rice because they're not submitting their test scores. So be very careful about how to approach whether or not you want to submit your test scores. Even if you have a very respectable 1460 on the SAT and you're submitting that to most schools on your list, at Rice, I would have pause. And I would talk to me or someone you trust like me, but of course no one is me, but someone that you trust in order to give you the best advice for you in particular. In terms of what major you select or which school you should say, I think you should be honest. Again, honesty is always the best policy. And they have architecture, business, engineering, humanities, natural sciences, and social sciences to choose from. Do not get uber strategic with the school at Rice you're applying to, because hopefully you have enough of a backstory related to that topic or disciplines within that school that you don't want to just be strategic about what school you select in order to get into Rice. That's sort of not nice. That's not honest. Now, with that said, it is going to be more competitive to get into engineering and architecture than it is to be in humanities. Now, with that said, most people going to Rice are attracted to Rice for the quality of its overall curriculum, but also they really do know what they want to focus on curricularly, academically. So again, I would highly recommend that you go in as what you are academically. If you are undecided, then that's a situation. If you have no real academic passion because you're great at everything, let's say, and you could go in any number of directions, that's maybe the situation in which I would maybe look at social sciences or humanities. But otherwise, just be honest, be truthful. And again, overall, always be honest and truthful. But if you have any doubts, those are going to be less competitive than engineering and architecture for sure. Definitely engineering at Rice. You do have the opportunity to give second areas of interest in most cases. Again, just be honest about what your secondary and tertiary level areas of interest are in terms of your academic pursuits. I love Rice for a lot of reasons. Rice is a great school. It's in one of the best cities in the United States. It's dynamic. It's a young city relative to a lot of the United States. There's a lot of economic opportunity in Houston. Rice itself has these residential house systems, which I love. It really makes you feel a part of a community. And Rice also really, like I said earlier, wants to get to know you as a student and as you as a person. In the contact section of the Rice supplement, they ask you for the contacts that you've had with Rice. So if you've had contact with a Rice alumnus or a Rice coach or a Rice faculty member or someone else at Rice, they not only ask you to name those people, but not only ask you to say who you've had that you've had contact with such a person, but they also ask you to name such a person. So that's really great. Give those names. Be specific. Colleges don't always ask such specific questions, but Rice does because they do track demonstrated interest still as of this filming at Rice. Will that continue? I don't know. With affirmative action going away, some of the colleges are getting rid of demonstrated interest and legacy admissions. But as of this filming, as of this recording, Rice is still considering demonstrated interest. So demonstrate your past and ongoing relationships or interests with Rice in the contact section of the Rice supplement to the common application. And of course, I would also allow them to contact you by mobile phone if you are really interested in Rice and you have a mobile phone number, because you might as well stay in touch with Rice any which way you possibly can to show that you are really committed to connecting with and developing a relationship with Rice. The biographical information section asks a little bit more information about your city or country of birth, and also your family section asks a little bit more about where your family is from, and also your religious preference is asked in this area. Be honest, again. If you have no religion and maybe you want to pick up a religion that's relatively rare in the next few weeks, by all means, feel free to do so in order to add a little extra flair to your application. But again, religion is serious, so be honest. Finally, in the additional background information section on the Rice supplement, there is some questions about your armed service ROTC background, or if you're applying for Naval ROTC, Air Force ROTC, or if you've served in the armed forces. Obviously, again, be honest here. I wish that was included earlier on, maybe when they're asking you about your sexual orientation. But in any case, be honest about your interests both in the past and in the present and in the future, so that you are going to be considered fully there. And of course, if you've ever been convicted of a crime or disciplinary action, you're going to have to share that information with Rice as well and give a 250-word explanation in that additional background information section. Now let's dive into what you've been waiting for, which is the supplement, the writing supplement for Rice University. Rice asks you 3 different essay questions. Let's go bang through them one at a time. Before I do, I will simply say what is written on the Rice supplement, which is this. The questions on this page are asked by Rice University. The admissions committee is interested in getting to know each student as well as possible through the application process. Please respond to each of the following prompts. Prompt number 1, please explain why you wish to study in the academic areas you selected above. Again, this is why you don't want to lie. You don't want to lie about your intended major, because now they're asking you to respond in 150 words about that major, why you're interested in studying. Explain. You need to explain. So you have to get into details about what is drawing you to that major. Not just that major, but that major at Rice. You have 150 words, you have at least a sentence or two of space to explain how you would pursue that major uniquely at Rice in a way that you would not be able to pursue it elsewhere. Now, you don't have to name the other schools that you would be pursuing that major at, but you do have to give particular details and specific anecdotes that prove to the Rice Admissions Committee that you have given thought about not just this major in general, but this major at Rice. How I would build this essay: a 1-sentence introduction with a thesis that introduces the area of study that you wish to pursue. Excuse me, I'm talking too fast. And then in the body, you're going to prove your thesis by showing specific detail that gives the admissions committee readers confidence that you've given this a good deal of thought, but you obviously don't have that many words to work with. You only have 150 words total. And then your conclusion should not just restate your intro/thesis. It should say something, anything new that is also related to what you've been talking about in the first, let's say, 125 to 130 words. So don't just restate the thesis. That's boring. That's a waste of space. That's repetition. Say something new that leaves them wanting more of you and giving them, again, confidence that you have thought long and hard about what you wish to study in the academic areas you selected earlier in the application. Obviously, if you selected 3 academic areas, you may feel spread thin. You could focus more just on your first choice if you don't really have a strong second or third choice. But if you mention 3, all 3 are fair game in terms of what you put in that section about the major. The next question is as follows, and you have only 150 words with which to respond to this one as well. Based on your exploration of Rice University, what elements of the Rice experience appeal to you? So this is all in on Rice, but you again have to connect it back to your backstory. So if you've been a member of Habitat for Humanity and you like building with your hands, then if you know you want to build with your hands with a local chapter of Habitat for Humanity, one that already exists maybe at Rice, mention how you see yourself evolving as a person in this one and how you see yourself exploring already existing or building new opportunities within the Rice community itself. This is not an academically focused essay. The other one was. So here you're not going to be talking about specific professor names or academic program names or course opportunities, etc. You're going to be focusing writ large on the community at Rice. What's drawing you to Rice based off of your research? And again, hopefully you can connect them back to not just name dropping a number of things about Rice in every new sentence, but rather focus on 2-3 things max that really draw you to Rice, but that you can also point to things in your past and your present that would give them confidence that you're not just pulling this out of the hat out of nowhere, but that these are actually authentic parts of who you are, what your value system is, that aligns with the community and the value system of the Rice community. How, again, I would build it: a 1-sentence introduction/thesis where you introduce the 1, 2, or 3 elements that are really drawing you to Rice. Just name them there. Then the body is where you prove your point. You're going to prove your thesis. You're going to show details that give the admissions readers confidence that you, in fact, have given this a long and hard thought. Obviously, the less you bite off, the more you'll be able to go deep. So I would maybe pick just 1 or 2 elements and do them well, as opposed to pick 5 elements and do them poorly. You only have 150 words. You want to provide depth in that body. And then the conclusion should say something new and thoughtful, does not just repeat the content of the intro in new words. Again, say something new in the conclusion, have a proper conclusion as opposed to a prosaic conclusion. And then finally, new in 2023, 2024, you have the opportunity to write a 500-word essay in response to one of the following prompts. Number 1 is the residential college system is at the heart of Rice student life and is heavily influenced by the particular cultural traditions and unique life experiences each student brings. What life experiences and or unique perspectives are you looking forward to sharing with fellow owls in the residential college system? Alternatively, you could respond to this one. Rice is strengthened by its diverse community of learning and discovery that produces leaders and change agents across the spectrum of human endeavor. What perspectives shaped by your background, experience, upbringing, and or racial identity inspire you to join our community of change agents at Rice? I don't care if you're white, if you're black, if you are poor or if you are rich, if you are fat or if you are thin, if you are international or if you are American. I want you to be honest, first and foremost, with something for one of these 2 prompts. Don't just make something up. And don't feel like you, because you're white, or you, because you're black, have to answer one or the other prompt. You have freedom. You have free will still in the United States, at least currently. And so I want you to pick the prompt that resonates more with you. That's tip number 1 as it relates to this 500-word essay. Tip number 2 as it relates to this essay is you gotta do a combination of showing your history and showing your future, regardless of which one you pick. This is a theme that you may be picking up on now based off of what I've said in even the short 150-word responses. If you respond to the residential college system prompt with, what life experiences and or unique perspectives you are going to look forward to sharing with fellow owls, I would try to pick on 1. I would not pick on many. I would pick on 1. What is a perspective you're going to bring that you feel like is going to really enliven your interactions with members of your residential college system community, your fellow future owls, if you will? Is there a particular experience or perspective? Pick 1. They say, what life experiences and or unique perspectives are you looking forward to sharing? I think if you pick 2 or 3, you're going to be spreading yourself too thin. I would rather you go deeper with meaning into 1, at most 2. But again, I would try very hard not to bite off more than you can chew, because then it's going to be a shallow and broad essay as opposed to a deep and narrow essay. And that's really what I would want you to be able to produce, the latter, deep and narrow. If you choose the Rice is strengthened by its diverse community one, which does mention race, it does mention background, you don't have to be from an underrepresented background or race to pick that. If in fact you have a perspective shaped by your background, experiences, upbringing, or racial identity that you feel inspire your application to join the community of future change agents. So basically what you're saying, if you respond to this one, is you want to foster change, and there's something in your background that has inspired you to do so. For either of these responses, you need to show yourself acting out at Rice. Not acting out like as in acting poorly, acting badly, but acting out what you claim to be true in your thesis of these 2 responses, or whatever response you choose. If you say you're a change agent, and you're a change agent because you come from a community that has been maligned and misrepresented and maybe even discriminated against in your home country, then you need to show that happening maybe to you specifically, not just to people like you. Or maybe something, God forbid, did happen to your mom or dad that was so traumatic that that trauma has been shared with you. And then you need to show what you would be doing, what you would be pursuing on the campus of Rice. That would give the application readers confidence that you are going to have this be a very meaningful hobby in your free time when you're not in your courses. And maybe it's going to be a part of your academic pursuits, so that maybe people like you or that look like you or if your demographic are not going to have to endure that type of discrimination or malign treatment in the future back in your home country. So you really have to connect the dots between not just, I come from a victim background and I want the opportunity to no longer be a victim, and Rice is going to give me that opportunity. You have to be a little bit more of a active player here. You cannot be a NPC, as they say. You need to actually be a proactive, assertive individual in this story, so that it's showing you taking some past background or current background or past experience and running with it, harnessing it in such a way where you are going to benefit from elements of the Rice community, and you should and can name them. You have 500 words after all, that are going to help you ultimately be change agents, not only at Rice, but in the future once you graduate from Rice, if you do the second prompt. If you do the first one, you don't have to necessarily prove yourself to be a change agent explicitly, but sort of implicitly you do, in the sense that you need to be showing yourself, bringing experience or something with you, perspective, to campus that is going to edify your fellow owls in the residential house system, when you're eating lunch with them on a Friday night. Something you're going to bring is going to add a new wrinkle to the campus that other people aren't going to bring. So you have the opportunity to get really hyper-focused here based off of your home community, how you were raised. Again, you don't necessarily have to be of a certain race or background to answer any of these questions. You could be of any race or background. So don't get necessarily thrown off by that word. Rather, really get personal. Rice wants to hear how your life experience has informed who you are today and who you will be in the future, not only at Rice, but maybe how Rice will help you get to the next level upon graduating from Rice, and that this is a marriage made in heaven because of your value system, your character, your perspective, married with what you are going to be able to engage in or learn from at Rice. You are going to be something extraordinary by the time you graduate and go off into the world that exists beyond Rice after you graduate 4 years later. So that's a lot to handle. And again, in terms of how I would structure it, an intro paragraph with a thesis that lays out explicitly what it is you're going to be proving in the body. You're just going to summarize it. You're going to give them a taste of it, but the body is where you're going to go deep and actually prove the argument you make in your intro/thesis. The conclusion says something new, thoughtful, that builds upon the body and the thesis. It does not just restate anything in the body and the thesis. So always keep that in mind with your conclusion. It has to say something new, not just tie everything up in a bow that was already, built in the first part of the essay in any way, shape, or form. 500 words is a lot, so use them to your best ability. If you end up producing an essay that's fewer than 450 words, it's like you just wasted 50 words. So please try to at least get to 475 words in order to feel like you've done what you need to do. Many of my students will use every single word in their final draft and make the most of every word of their essay in order to make sure that they are differentiating themselves as much as they possibly can. Also mentioned in that section on the writing supplement, that's where, of course, you have the opportunity to upload your resume. You also, at Rice, have the unique opportunity to upload an image, which is known as the Rice box, about something that is important to you. Go hog wild. If it's important to you, and it's as long as it's not in any way insulting or offensive to anyone, I would go with whatever strikes your fancy and you feel like really aligns with your value system. The phone is ringing, so that probably means I should go. And so I will, other than to say I wish you the very, very best of luck as you apply to Rice University. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please also subscribe to my channel. Thank you for holding on to the very end. And again, if you want one-on-one college application support and guidance, go to my website, collegemeister.com. Stay safe, stay well, and I got to get the phone. Talk to you soon.